So I'm worried about the souring diplomatic relations with China, our largest trading partner, and our reliance on China for many of our primary industries. And it felt like during the pandemic, when we were sitting there in 200 odd days of isolation, and I started reading up about economics a bit more, it seemed like there was a lot of unnecessary comments that the PM directed at China, and then it resulted in trade restrictions imposed on, and no doubt impacted on many Australians' livelihoods, from everything across timber, coal, wine, lobsters, barley, beef, copper. And that it was only luck during the pandemic that China was reliant on Australian iron ore, which makes up 20% of our exports. So I guess what I want to know is what would you propose that we do to improve that relation, or to improve our reliance, or to remove our reliance on China as a trade partner?
Would you like that to both candidates? We'll start with Dr. Ryan.
Look, I agree with you, Siobhan. I think that our relationship with China has been handled badly by the current government. China is our biggest trade partner, and the relationship with our biggest trade partner should be treated with respect and sensitivity, not with macho, breast-beating belligerence. We've seen how much that has cost us, and it's been actively unhelpful to weaponise our relationship with China for really local, domestic political aims. I also think that for the 11% of people of Kooyong who identify as Chinese Australian, that posture has been deeply unhelpful. A lady told me the other day at Camberwell Shopping Centre that she'd felt unsafe in this country for the first time in the last 6 months, having lived here for 40 years. Well, that brings shame on all of us. I do agree that we need to work on our domestic security by shoring up our onshore production of things like iron ore, and our local refinement of our own iron ore using green energy, renewables. It's actually going to be much, much helpful from an economic point of view, apart from anything else, but it will also help with domestic security. And I remind you that Chris Barry, who's a former head of security, said that the biggest threat to us at this point in time as a country, biggest security threat, is our inaction on climate change, and that includes our inaction on onshore manufacturing.
Treasurer, your response to Siobhan?
Well, I agree with Monique that we have a wonderful Australian Chinese community, and it's particularly vibrant here in Kooyong, and I have had a long and productive association with them. And it has been difficult for them. But they also understand the government's issue is not with the Australian Chinese community. The government's issue is with China's more assertive behaviour. Now, China under Xi Jinping has changed diplomatically, economically, politically, and militarily. And the developments in the Solomon Islands should concern us just as those islands popping up out of the sea in the South China Sea. Just as the treatment of people in Hong Kong who all they wanted was to maintain their democracy, or the other human rights abuses that we've seen against the Uyghurs and others. So our focus as a government is on ensuring that the national interest is protected. Our two-way trade with China is worth more than $250 billion a year, but it was China who put tariffs on our beef, who put tariff on our coal, who put tariffs on our wine, who put tariffs on our barley, who put tariffs on our lobster. And we have, fortunately, as an economy, have been able to pivot and find new markets. But I would say to Monique, have a look at the list of demands that the Chinese embassy here in Australia put on us. And I'm sure you could not agree with it. They did not want Australian parliamentarians to speak their mind on China. They did not want us to speak out about human rights abuses on China. They do not want us to speak out about the South China Sea. So I make no apology, Kieran. I have a wonderful, important relationship with the Australian Chinese community. But we also, and particularly as the member for Kooyong, as a member who sits on the National Security Committee of Cabinet, getting briefed on a regular basis by the head of our armed forces, by the head of our intelligence services, we have serious issues. and we can't put our heads in the sand.
We've got Siobhan wants to have a follow-up question.
No, my question wasn't on security. It was on how we're going to protect our trade and
Yes.
protect those industries. So
Yes.
not on.
So we have been very effective in finding new markets. So, for example, our wine that was previously, Siobhan, going to China has now been going to Singapore. Our coal has found other markets as well. And so too our barley, and Saudi Arabia has been a new market for us. So we have funded programs to ensure that we diversify our trading markets. And at the same time, we've seen a spike in commodity prices. So, for example, I have iron ore in the budget at $55 a tonne. It's $130 a tonne. So you've actually seen the value of our trade with China actually go up